Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I am trying out the new international friendly schedule that the insurance elephant convinced me to do. And I'm recording at 8 a.m. Eastern time with Adam Poole, the co-founder and CEO at Safety Compass. Adam, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Good, Tony. Thanks for having me today. Pretty excited to tell you about what we're doing.
Awesome. So the reason that we are recording at 8 a.m. Eastern is because Adam is in Australia. What time is it for you right now?
It's just after 11 p.m., so it's not too bad.
Holy crap! Okay,
I've done a lot earlier and a lot later. So
okay, so even my extended hours are tough when it comes to Australia. Okay, and I have you listed as I'm going to definitely mispronounce this, but Wollongong, Australia. So
yeah, that's right.
That sounds like it's not Sydney, it's not Melbourne. It's kind of in the middle of the bush. That's what it's. I've never been to Australia.
Oh, that's okay. It's like 40 miles south of Sydney.
Okay.
It's just enough. It's just enough south to be its own sort of region.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me today. We always give the guests the chance to give the elevator pitch. So, what is Safety Compass?
Sure. So, Safety Compass is a tool for frontline workers to identify and assess hazards with augmented reality. So that's kind of the one-line description. So if you're working in a site that has a lot of stuff, like a utilities site, a water plant, for example, an electrical substation, they've got dozens of pieces of equipment. And so what Safety Compass allows you to do is point your phone at that particular piece of equipment and have the information about it sort of superimposed.
Okay. So let's back up just a little bit. So we have had a few different guests recently, let's say in the last year, specifically about workplace safety, and I think they're all here in the States, and some are using cameras and AI connected to those cameras. Some are using statistics, some are using different things. You're the first one to bring up augmented reality on this podcast, I believe. And I happen to be a huge VR fan. And I do think that AR has a lot of potential, both in entertainment and in the business world and the industrial world. But I do think that our listeners, especially the ones that are traditional insurance, traditional risk management, probably have not heard a lot about AR and VR. So let's quickly, okay. So let me see if I get it right. So sure. Virtual reality or VR is basically headset on your face, and you can't see out. You can only see in. Sometimes they have a camera, but it can be used for things like training and things like meetings and things like that. But it blocks your view, right? And then things like augmented reality, it's some sort of device, whether it's your phone, glasses, or whatever, that doesn't block your view, but rather augments and gives you extra information on. Okay, perfect. So we don't need the workers wearing futuristic looking Google glasses or whatever. Literally just their iPhone or Android. And what kind of information can they get when they point at a piece of machinery or piece of equipment?
Yeah, sure. So you can get everything from a photo of that piece of equipment, or your hyperlinks to operator manuals and chemical data sheets. You can add YouTube videos. You can put forms and different pieces of information like that. So really everything you need to know to work safely. And all of this information exists out there in the company somewhere. It's on an intranet site, or it's on someone's hard drive, or it's, a 2-inch paper folder of information. So Safety Compass is really about breaking those down into usable pieces. So it's more effective to use, and people are more likely to use it if it's something that's simple and engaging.
Absolutely. So I have definitely, over my time in insurance, I've definitely learned that, and I've been trying to help insurance companies here in the States understand this. Yeah, your intranet is good,
Mm,
and it's great that you have a ton of information on it, but
yeah.
if your employees, even your desk employees, and I'm a very white collar, I've always been a desk employee. I've never worked in like any sort of like physical white collar job. I don't know if they call them that in Australia, um,
Yeah.
but I've never worked any sort of hard hat job, so to speak. So even for somebody like myself in the desk, if the information in the internet is hard to access, hard to search, hard to find, hard to navigate, I'm gonna Google or YouTube, and I'm gonna end up in information that might not be official and might not be accurate, but that it's easy to find, right? So I can only imagine if you take that to the next level, and I'm actually, my dad, he's an industrial engineer. He started his career at the plant level, managing workers that were physically making cable with machinery. I can only
Sure.
imagine that in his world, uh, whatever information is back at the desktop or laptop in his office is useless when he's out on the plant, right? When the hard hat is on, that's completely useless. So this sounds like a fantastic way to put the information in front. And I love, for example, the chemicals thing, right? So if you've got a whole bunch of different chemicals that require different levels of carefulness and different safety equipment to handle, and you've got a couple hundred of them, nobody's going to be able to remember this, right? They might be walking around with like a paper thing,
Yeah.
but
I've got
if
one
my
here normally.
phone can quickly
Yeah.
tell me, fantastic. So uh, it looks like you've been doing this for almost 5 years. Um, how far into it are you? Like, is this deployed? Is this already being used at at multiple industrial sites?
Yeah. To be honest with you, we got hit pretty hard by COVID from a traction perspective.
Makes sense.
We deployed Safety Compass at an electrical utility, which is what you can see in the background wallpaper here.
Uh-huh.
So we went ahead and mapped over 200 sites for this company. We used their pictures, we used their links, all those sorts of things. And then we effectively turned it on for 2,000 people. So the guys just opened their phone and it was ready to use straight away. And that
How yeah, go ahead.
generated statistics on who's looking at hazards, when they're looking at hazards, how long they're looking at this information for. And so for that, large scale customer for us, it was a great, first customer essentially.
Okay, so it's deployed at one site,
Yeah.
2,000 employees, so 2,000 workers. How long have they been using the system?
They've been using it on and off for probably 18 months or so.
Why on and off? Because of COVID?
Because of COVID, yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I guess if you take a step back from an insurance perspective, Safety Compass is a good product to reduce injuries, right? So if you reduce injuries, you reduce claims costs in
It's a
P&C
win-win.
insurance. Yeah. So we had all these deals lined up. I went over to Boston to meet with Liberty Mutual and signed, a deal with them. That was in like September 2019. We just got an Endeavour Energy across the line, this electrical utility. Things were ramping up, and then COVID sort of stopped, the entire
Mm-hmm.
planet, as everybody knows. So we're
Oh,
just
yeah.
sort of getting back on our feet now. We've got some good POCs happening in South America, in Peru, and different places like that. So the traction is slower than I would have liked, but it's traction nonetheless.
Okay. So what kind of preliminary results are you seeing from the early testing?
Yeah, so with Endeavour Energy, we saw that people are accessing information like 5, 6, 7 times more regularly than they would through a traditional sort of paper-based system. So normally this particular utility, they go and do like a quarterly safety day training thing where everyone comes to the depot and they talk about electrical safety or chemical safety or whatever. And then they sort of just go off and do their work. And so we found with Safety Compass, it's got geofencing, right? So when you go to site, it pushes the information through to you. And then you can just point your phone at the area you're about to work in and have that all superimposed. And so we found that people were looking at it at like 8 o'clock at night for jobs that they were going to do the next day. So I thought that was a really cool metric to go, this is something that the guys are like voluntarily using. You know, it's not something that's just been slapped on them and go and use this and we'll see what happens. Really good engagement.
I would say even like I can only imagine the management back end, right? So like the statistics of which of my guys are using it, what are they using it for, when are they using it, right? Even things like the person. So in the old world, you probably had some overly careful nerds, and I love my nerds. I'm a very proud insurance and risk management nerd. You probably have some overly careful nerds who were studying up the night before going into a job site, and then you have some less than careful ones that kind of never do it, or that do it 2 minutes after they arrive, kind of thing, or only after they get themselves in trouble. This gives you visibility into who are your people that are really good at preparing, and so yeah, I can only, and I have zero background in industrial safety,
Sure.
but yeah, I can very easily see the utility of this. I am curious how it is priced, and how what the integration looks like.
Yeah, so pricing is basically per user per month, and then we have a setup fee where we can import all your existing data. We can set it up for you in the back end, because we know with these large, complex, companies, they're time poor. So they don't want to have to sit there and do data entry. We can do all that. We've done that before. It's easier for us to do that and just hand you the keys to the completed thing. So it's sort of around the $10 per user per month mark, plus the setup fee, which varies depending on the size of the company and the complexity of the info and those sorts of things. So it's not cost prohibitive. We don't want cost to be a barrier for entry for this sort of tech, because this can literally improve people's lives. There's a stack of research in human factors about building tools that are for the frontline guys, right? The hard hat guys that you mentioned, the blue collar workers. And if you can engage them with tools that you've built for them, as opposed to management, you can reduce lost time injuries by huge factors.
Fantastic. And here in the US, well, all over the world, injuries have human effects, right? And those are, without question, I think we would all agree that the most important thing we're trying to avoid. And then here in the US, medical costs are off the charts. So here, any workplace injury, any injury we can prevent is a huge financial win also. So I don't know, in Australia and in other developed countries where you're testing it, if the medical costs are also a big deal, or is it really more of a lost time and avoided human pain?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, my workplace safety career was inspired by a really serious injury that I had. I was a mechanic and just doing a routine job, and I tore all the ligaments up in my wrist and had to give up the trade, you know. And so a lot of my friends and family, they're blue collar workers. And when I got into safety, I just saw that there's all this complex info, like we touched on. You know, the average cost of a work injury here in Australia is like 100K to remediate. So it's probably similar in the States. I think it's a little less.
Really?
And that's just the direct cost. That doesn't include, you know, productivity losses and recouping those particular amounts that you've lost. It can be in the millions of dollars by the time an injury is, you know, back to normal, for want of a better description.
Makes sense. Okay. How is it distributed? So is it something that insurance brokers can help distribute? You know, especially those that work with a lot of industrial operations, or
Yeah.
how do you get the word out about this kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess our biggest step into the insurtech space was an integration of Safety Compensate into an underwriting platform with Intellect. And that was with Lakshan De Silva and Nilesh Dambe. Those guys were working there at the time. So, you know, you would know as an underwriter, you've got platforms and you can type in an address and it gives you like the map view or whatever. What Safety Compass does for those insurers is give you a worker's eye view of what's happening. So a distributor could offer this to their employees, or their customers, I should say, and in return, they get these masses of information that's, you know, crowdsourced direct from the people working there.
Okay, so I'm always trying to think as I'm recording. I'm always trying to think among my listeners. So U.S. brokers and carriers. So it sounds like U.S. carriers, U.S. insurance companies, especially ones that do a lot of workers' compensation, are the ones that would really benefit from this kind of partnership, right?
Yeah.
So basically, hey, you know, Accident Fund of Michigan and employers of Nevada and MEMIC and all the other workers' compensation heavy or workers' compensation exclusively carriers. Some of whom I know are listeners. The CEO of MEMIC has been on the show.
Okay.
So for them, what's kind of your pitch for them, for carrier leaders that run workers' compensation departments? Why should they give you a call?
They should give us a call because the product is about keeping people safe, which we know that's the number one priority for companies, right? And in reality, that's not the only priority. There's productivity, there's environmental impacts, there's all these different things. So by building a tool that is smartphone based, it's got augmented reality that you can deploy anywhere in the world at the moment. It's really a great way to augment the information that you've got coming into your underwriters. So instead of just typing in, like I mentioned before, this gives you a bird's eye view into the workplace. And you just can't achieve that through, you know, quarterly inspections or paper checklists or those sort of activities that are traditional in making these decisions.
I love the fact that it works from my worker's smartphone, because everybody has one, right? So there's no, there's some really cool solutions, and there's other companies that we've had on the podcast that have really cool cameras and really cool systems to keep workers safe. But it seems to me nothing would be easier and cheaper to deploy that something that works right from your worker's iPhone or Android, without them needing any sort of extra equipment attached to it, or any equipment on the wall, or anything else. So absolutely fantastic that basically you can work anywhere in the world already. So very cool stuff. I am curious. So your background, you came from a white collar background yourself, from the injury to your hands, and and then you've been through multiple companies since then.
Sure.
Oh, you went back and got a master's in occupational safety, in occupational health and safety. So you go back and you get your master's, and then you're looking at the world of options for how do we prevent workplace injuries. Why did you settle on this one, or why did you settle? It sounds wrong. Why did you decide for this particular approach?
Yeah, I guess having worked in the safety roles with the frontline guys, the hard hat workers for years before I built Safety Compass, you just keep hearing these same problems. The information is too complex. The guys might work on 5 different sites throughout the week. There's just all of these barriers to safe work. And so the one thing they all had in their pocket, though, is a smartphone, right? And everyone's seen the augmented reality where you look at like the X-ray of the machine or the pipes in the ground or whatever. And those are cool, but they're just prototypes at this stage. So we just wanted something really simple, and the augmented reality is just the way to do it. I mean, it's interactive, it's simple to use, and you can do it straight through the phone. I think the headsets are cool. I think the VR that you mentioned is cool, but that's not as scalable as Safety Compass is right this minute.
Absolutely. It's like the new Quest Pro just got announced yesterday.
Sure.
The Quest 2 here in the States was between $300 or $400. The Quest Pro is $1,500. So yeah, it does a lot more stuff, and it does both AR and VR.
Sure.
But at $1,500 a pop, it is very, very expensive to deploy, especially if I've got if I have an architect or an engineer, maybe it makes sense. But if I have 2,000 guys in the plant, right, yeah, I agree with the approach. I love it. So since you've been doing this for a good amount of time, is there anything else? Are there any new features coming down the pipe that you're particularly excited about that you are able to talk about that are not yet quite implemented?
Yeah, I guess the big feature for us is the IoT sensor integration. So we did a survey on LinkedIn with like process safety people, chemical engineers and petrochem guys. And I just said, what are the top sort of indicators of problems on site? And they're like temperature sensors and flow sensors. So if something's hot, you got a problem. If you're normally producing, 1,000 gallons a minute of fuel and that drops or that goes super high, there's something going on. So the IoT space for workplace safety and for a product like Safety Compass is huge. We're building a feature that plugs into that data stream so that you can sort of stick your head into the water and have a look at what's going on in there.
Fantastic.
So that's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one for us.
I can definitely see that. So Adam, thank you so much for making time to chat with me. I love what you're doing. And thank you for staying up till 11 to chat with me. Like I said, I'm trying to maximize hours to better accommodate founders abroad. Clearly for Australians, I need to resharpen my pencil because even my extended hours are awful for you. So my apologies on that. But thank you so much for your time. For any other viewer or listener who is a co-founder in the developing world, or although Australia is not really developing, it's very much a developed country, but that needs extended hours, reach out to the Insurance Elephant. That's Pat Callahan and Carlos Miguel Vidal. They are my let's say exclusive partner when it comes to extended hour recordings for developing world insurtechs, and I get safety techs. Thank you so much for your time. Look forward to see you guys continue to grow this, and just a brilliant execution using the tools that we already have in our hands. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.